Every February, millions of Americans enjoy a long weekend. Stores slash prices. Flags wave quietly in winter wind. Classrooms close. Offices shut down. But beneath the sails and the silence lies something far more powerful. President's Day was never meant to be just a break from work. It was meant to shape how a nation remembers its leaders. And over time, it became something very different. This is the story of how America built and rebuilt the memory of its presidents. The story begins in the 18th century. When George Washington died in 1799, the young United States was still fragile. Washington was not merely a former president. He was the symbol of independence, restraint, and unity. By 1885, his birthday, February 22nd, became a federal holiday. It was one of the first holidays to honor an individual American. It was not just celebration, it was nation building. Public schools recited stories of Washington's honesty. Parades marched through snowy streets. Newspapers printed tributes, reinforcing the idea that leadership required virtue. Meanwhile, February 12th marked the birth of Abraham Lincoln, whose preservation of the Union during the Civil War elevated him to almost mythic status. For decades, the two birthdays stood separately, two towering figures, two moral anchors in American identity. But the country was changing. Industry was booming. Cities were expanding. The calendar was about to shift. By the mid-20th century, America was a different nation. Factories ran on precision schedules. Corporations optimized productivity. The federal government sought efficiency, even in holidays. In 1968, Congress passed the Uniform Monday Holiday Act, which took effect in 1971 under Richard Nixon. Several holidays were moved to Mondays to create predictable three-day weekends. Washington's birthday shifted from February 22nd to the third Monday in February. Officially, it remained Washington's birthday, but culturally, something changed. The proximity to Lincoln's birthday blurred the lines. Retailers began advertising President's Day sales, plural. Gradually, the language evolved. Textbooks softened the singular focus. The holiday expanded symbolically to include all U.S. presidents, and with that expansion came complexity. Not all presidents were universally admired. Some presided over progress, others over division. The idea of celebrating all presidents raised uncomfortable questions. What exactly was being honored? The office? The individuals? The ideal? Television in the 1950s and 60s had already transformed how Americans saw their leaders. Radio fireside chats, televised debates, presidential addresses, technology brought the presidency into living rooms. By the late 20th century, the presidency was no longer distant and marble-carved. It was human, political, debated daily. President's Day evolved alongside media culture. It became less about a single heroic figure and more about the institution itself, and sometimes about furniture discounts and car deals. A solemn remembrance had become intertwined with consumer capitalism. But beneath the sales banners, the historical roots remained. President's Day reveals how national memory shifts with society. In the 19th century, Washington represented stability in a fragile republic. In the early 20th century, Lincoln symbolized unity after Civil War. During the Cold War, strong presidential leadership became synonymous with global power. By the digital age, presidents are dissected in real time. Every speech analyzed, every decision archived online. The presidency transformed from myth to media spectacle. Yet the holiday persists. It forces Americans, even subtly, to confront questions of leadership. What makes a good president? Is greatness defined by moral character, military victory, economic growth, or resilience in crisis? President's Day also illustrates a broader historical pattern. Holidays are not static. They are living reflections of society's values. What began as a tribute to one founding father evolved into a collective meditation on executive power, and perhaps unintentionally into a reminder that leadership is never simple. The marble statues remain in monuments across Washington, D.C., but the stories behind them grow more layered each year. On a cold February morning, the flag rises as it always has. Children may not memorize Washington's farewell address anymore. Lincoln's speeches might be summarized in a paragraph. But the questions those men faced, unity, liberty, responsibility, remain unfinished. President's Day is not merely about the past. It is about how a nation chooses to remember power. It is about myth and reality, about ideals and imperfections, about the fragile experiment that began in 1776 and continues today. The holiday has changed because America has changed. And perhaps that is the most honest tribute of all. Because leadership is not frozen in marble. It evolves, just like the country it serves.